Today, ladies and gentlemen, I have another story. I would like to tell you the story, regale you with the tale of the time I almost died. I didn't almost die, but I almost disappeared in Ukraine. Yeah. So this is 2019. This is before the whole war. A little bit of backstory, a little bit of context. I grew up incredibly religious. All right. I grew up in the Mormon church. I was a church boy growing up. I was incredibly devout. I followed all the rules. I know a lot of people broke the rules and bended the rules. No. I was a rule follower. And since I was a little kid, they drill into you as a young child. They drill into you that when you turn, I think it's 18 or 19, all priesthood-holding young men go on missions. Now, a mission, for the uninitiated, is basically when you volunteer and pay with your own fucking money to go for 2 years and preach about the Book of Mormon. The Book of Mormon, and to a lesser extent, Jesus Christ. Oh, hello, skin. Yeah, so when you're a kid, that's the whole thing. They're like, okay, when you're done with high school, the next thing you do is you go on a mission. That is it. It is somewhere written, I forget where, and I forget the exact phrasing, but it is a mandatory service. It is incredibly frowned upon if you don't go, and in my case, I was incredibly convinced that the church was real, and I went on a mission. Now, how these mission things work is you don't actually choose where you go. They just kind of give you something. How do I make a crafting table? Here we go. Yes. So you pay the church. I think it's like, I forget, fucking maybe $11,000 or some shit. I don't remember how much it was. All the money I'd saved up, working since I was a young boy. Had all my minimum wage jobs. All the money I saved up, I put towards my mission. And you pay the church, and then they give you an assignment. It's a calling, they call it. The Lord has called you to serve a mission and preach the gospel. So I went on one of those. I saved up the money. I signed up for the thing. I went through the temple. That's something they don't really tell you about missions, is that you gotta be temple worthy, which involves like a whole fucking ritual, and it's very culty. Point being, I was very devout, and that was like my life goal. I didn't have any aspirations. I didn't know what I was gonna do after high school. I didn't want to really go to college necessarily. I thought maybe I'd just enlist in the military, which, fun fact, I actually can't. I'm medically disqualified from enlisting in the military or being drafted because I have a mental disorder. And that ties into this story. The mission is actually how I discovered I had that mental disorder. So, as a strapping young man, I need tools. As a strapping young lad of just fucking 18, I think I was. No, 18. I was 18. Yeah. I think I was 18. 18 or 19, I forget. I saved up the money, I got called on a mission, and I got the letter in the mail. It's this whole like reveal thing that they do for all the missionaries. It's like you get the envelope in the mail and you open it up with your family, and I'm sure some Mormons post that on TikTok or something. God, one of these days I gotta look at Mormon TikTok. I'm sure that's a thing. Anyway, I got the thing in the mail and I opened the letter and it said, "You have been called in some elaborate wording or some kind of I genuinely forgot. It's been so many fucking years. This was back in 2019. I was a youngin', so I've forgotten a lot of the minor details. But I got the letter in the mail, and it said, "You have been called to the Dnipropetrovsk area." I didn't know how to say that back then. I called it like Dnipropetrovsk, something like that. That was before I learned any Russian, and that was the language I was assigned. So you don't pick the area, and you don't pick the language either. They just say, "All right, we're gonna put on Joe Smith's magic hat. We're gonna stick our head in the hat and look at the stones, and we're gonna pick somewhere for you to go." And so I got assigned to Dnipro, which is a region in Ukraine, and I was assigned to speak Russian. So I go off to the MTC. You got all the missionaries go through one of, I think, 3 training centers in the world. The biggest one is of course, it's in I think Ogden, Utah, or something. Ogden's somewhere in Utah. You know, the big state. And they send you there, and for 9 weeks I studied Russian, and I learned quite a lot. That was probably my favorite thing of actually going, was just learning the language and going somewhere that wasn't the United States. It was a beautiful place. I'm very happy that I went, all things considered, despite the fact that this story is about to get a little dark. So, after those 9 weeks, I studied Russian, I studied the gospel, I studied my scriptures, yeah. So, this was my, life's mission. This was fresh after, my brother passed away in 2018, and so after that, and I was pretty gung-ho about the whole mission thing. I wanted to go teach people about the afterlife. You know, I thought I would see my brother one day, and I was very, very into it. And I get sent to Ukraine, and we get on the flight. I actually kind of looked out super hard when we flew out of the MTC, they call it. You get on a plane, and we flew across the Atlantic, and for whatever reason, I just got randomly upgraded to first class. I don't know why. We were like the last people on the plane. They're like, "All right, we got some season for first class. Do you want an upgrade?" I was like, "Fuck yeah, dude, I'll take that." I would say it's on the church's money, but it literally wasn't. But it was also free, so who cares? So I got a first class flight across the Atlantic Ocean, which was very nice. I've never been in first class before. It's like you get like this weird booth seat. It's like you're sitting on like a massage chair. You can like lean back and lay down. And then they brought I got swordfish. I got to eat swordfish on a plane going to Europe. Crazy part of my life. It gets even crazier. So I landed in Ukraine. Actually, we landed in, I think it was the Netherlands, was where the transatlantic, the nice flight, the nice flight took us there. And I am probably gonna need a house. Oh, I'm on peaceful. We're good. Yes. So I took the nice flight to the Netherlands, and then from there we got on a very rickety, a much smaller plane. And we flew to some airport. I don't remember the name. What the hell is that? A Woodland Mansion? Oh my god. I would ask if those things are rare, but I don't think they are in this version. Horses! Aww. I want a saddle now. Shit. What was I saying? Yes. So we take the rickety plane. It wasn't that rickety, but small planes and turbulence, not a good mix. Not a good mix. Even in fucking broad daylight, Actually, that might have been the flight I slept on. I don't remember. We took the plane and we got to this airport that looked like it looked like it belonged in a war movie. I mean that in the nicest way possible. Ukraine, at least the places that I was, were obviously like post-Soviet kind of, I would say maybe like second world is the right term, where it's still kind of like a Western country, but it's very, very different economy there. And a lot of things are like overgrown and worn down and beaten up, war torn, I presume. Yeah, it's a lovely place, beautiful place. Like I loved being there. The city I lived in, Odessa. I'll get to that point. It was like an overgrown city. It was like a city, but the city was part of a giant forest with like ruins of Soviet structures. It was so cool. I loved living there. Anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself. So I get off the plane in this. My first impression of Ukraine was an airport that looked a bit militaristic, I guess. And we got on a bus. The plane took us to Dnipro, which is a big city in Ukraine. It's not the capital. The capital is Kyiv. So the plane, we get on a bus, we go to Dnipro, and then from there, the first day in Ukraine, our mission leader, we have this whole meeting of the minds where they have all the new people, and it's like an orientation thing, where they're like, all right, this is the place, this is your different assignments, these are your bus tickets to get to your assignment, and then they just said, all right, we're gonna do some contacting. Now, contacting, as you can probably infer, especially if you are a sales agent, yeah, the corporate sales like angle of Mormonism, Mormon missions, very, very, very strong. But contacting is basically where you just walk around the street and you, contact. You ask people if they want to talk about Jesus. You know, those the white guys in the white shirts and ties that go around on bicycles. These days they have cars, which is kind of cringe. I had to walk everywhere on my mission. I wasn't spoiled like that. I had to either walk or take the marshutka. Something about... Yeah. So, yeah, the Mormon missionaries, yeah, they're the guys who go around. Excuse me, sir, do you have a moment to talk about our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ? Would you like to hear the tale of how Joseph Smith saw angels and, you know, all that shebang? You just walk around the street and you try and convert people like a Age of Empires priest. You just go, yeah. You just go around and try and convert people. And in our mission, where I served, there was such a lack of any... They called them investigators, basically like converts in progress. They're people that you keep up with, you keep tabs on. They have all your names in like a giant book. They keep a catalog of everyone they've ever interacted with. And they just contact everyone, and they do all these things. There were so few investigators in our mission that literally all I did when I was over there. I was there for, like, I want to say maybe 3 months? Maybe it was just a month. The 2 months out of the mission, and then I was there for, like, a month before I had the emergency. Contacting, yeah. You just go around, you try and talk to people. I think one of the only phrases that really I remember is the initial contacting phrase in Russian, because I would walk around and I would repeat it ad hominem like 1,000 times, just trying to talk to people, even though I would say that to them and then they would like say something back or try and talk back, and I wouldn't understand them because I can kind of speak Russian. Like, I can say Russian words and preach in Russian, loosely. But I have no comprehension skills. So I would go up to people. I'd be like, извините, у вас есть минут говорить об Иисусе Христе. And then they would look at me and they would be like, all right, they'd say something, I don't know, they'd reply, and then I would just immediately turn to my trainer who I was with. That's like the first, they call them companions. It's like a buddy system, so you don't die or get kidnapped like I almost did. So I would always just turn to my trainer, and then he would try and convert them from there, and I would just stand by and watch because I knew fuck all when it came to Russian. And I still don't, which is sad. It's something I kind of want to study, but I also do not have time for college. Nor am I very interested in going to college. Yes, so legendary tangents today. First thing we do when we crash down in Dnipro is we do the street contacting. So basically, out of the pan into the fire, you get off the plane, you're immediately trying to convert people, saying the same 3 phrases they taught you in the MTC. Just trying to do anything, say anything to anyone. And for obvious reasons, not a lot of success. I think, at least the region I was in Ukraine, well, we were in Dnipro at the time. I'm pretty sure it's a very atheistic area, which is probably why we didn't have like any converts or any investigators to even teach lessons to. In my entire time on that mission, I taught like maybe a single lesson. And it wasn't even like we taught a lesson, maybe 2. I think it was 2. But it was already to people that were kind of already in the church. And we just went to their apartment, their house, and we gave them a little lesson. I think there were, it might have been 1 or 2 people that were kind of like half. They were inactives. That's right. That's the Mormon term for people who are members, but they just stopped going and they stopped contacting and like being in touch with the church. They call them inactives. And those are the people that you go on the phone books. You go on the binders that they had. That was something we did. We had in our apartment these thick fucking binders full of these like basically D&D character sheets of about people that they were trying to convert, and the records went back fucking ages, like to the the fucking 70s or some shit. Like it was crazy. So we didn't teach lessons. We did the contacting. Immediately after that, I think we immediately went on the buses. And, I'm circling all the way back to the buses. Yes, they have these cross-country buses. And we took our bus down to Odessa. Obviously that city's not doing too great these days, but it was beautiful when I was there. We went on the bus, and while I was on the bus, I obviously tried preaching to some guy on the bus, and he actually gave me a little like pocket Bible that you'd see in like the military. He was dressed in like fatigues. Obviously this was before the war, but there was still like some kind of civil war going on. And I sat next to this guy that was like an artillery operator or something who was being trained by the U.S. military. There was tensions there even before the invasion happened. As I understand it, it was not a very stable area of the world even before all that shit. But he was a lovely chap, very cool guy. I barely understood a word he said, but he gave me his Bible, which was really cool. It wasn't the King James Version, which is like the canon Mormon Bible. So obviously I didn't like try to learn it or read it. I still have it. It's on my bookshelf. Wow, I should probably get iron. I've just been walking around with stone tools. So we get on the buses. We take the buses down to Odessa. We get to our apartment, and then from there I was on my mission. And what I did was you wake up in the morning, you ate your breakfast. We had I fucked up the word, gretska and eggs with my trainer would put ketchup on it, which is like the most. He was from Idaho. It was the most American shit I'd ever seen. 'Cause like traditionally with grecka, they put like beef and onions and all these savory flavors that make it very hearty. I actually made a batch of, or a bowl of grecka for Christmas last year because I had the materials. One of my coworkers is from Kazakhstan, and she was like telling me about how she makes grecka. But while I was there, we basically ate it like American cereal, with like scrambled eggs mixed in, and then I would just do like salt and pepper. I would not put ketchup on it. I do not like ketchup. So we would wake up in the morning, we'd eat that, and then we would go in contact like all day. On days that we weren't. Mondays are basically their days off. That's when they go and we did our laundry. Those are also like the recreational days where you're allowed to do anything but mission work. Crazy fun facts about missions: you're not allowed to watch TV, you're not allowed to listen to music, you're not allowed to do literally anything that a normal person does on days that aren't your P day, which is 1 day a week. It's probably, I don't know, similar to some military routine, I don't fucking know, or corporate shit. But yeah, all day, 5 days a week would be contacting. We would just walk around the city. Sometimes we would take our marshutka, and we would just go around and try and contact, preach to people. Never had any luck. We would have conversations, obviously, like I said. My trainer would have conversations. I would just kind of sit back and, oh, these roses look crazy. They're so like desaturated. I can't select it in my inventory. Okay, that's fine. I'm gonna go in this cave, see if I can find some iron. Yeah, so contacting was literally all we did. We would also occasionally, there were sister missionaries that were also in our mission. We basically, in most missions, they have like a bunch of these, like, I almost call them couples. They're like pairs of missionaries. Or sometimes we had one of our groups of sisters was like a triple, sort of 3 of them in a single squad, or companionship they call it, which is a very odd word to describe your coworkers. These are your companions in the brotherhood of Christ, or the sisterhood of Christ. Yeah, so we would contact all day, 5 days a week. Sometimes, like I said, we like 2 times a week. We would have, or not 2 times a week, 2 times in the entire time I was there, we taught a lesson at somebody's house. Of course, it was in Russian, so I tried, but the communication, the language barrier, I was not very good. I didn't understand Russian very much, and I didn't know any vocabulary outside of church vocabulary. So I can tell you the Russian word for testimony, which is свидетельство, and I probably butchered that pronunciation, but it is what it is. But I could not tell you like the Russian word for television or something, because we didn't watch television or listen to the radio or anything like that. Our days were literally wake up, go preach, and then come home in the evening, and then I think we had some like study, a little bit of study period where we'd Russian study, and I think we'd literally just come home, eat dinner, and go to bed, obviously with prayers and some stuff mixed in there, lots of prayers. Yes, so that was my life on the mission. Sundays were the one days, obviously we had church, and that's right, Mondays we had English class. That was like the one thing I could do on my mission, was teach English to Ukrainians that were trying to learn English for whatever reason. Like having foreigners, native English speakers come to your country, like that's a pretty good service offered by the church. Obviously it entailed, it was also a gospel lesson, so you had to sit through the Jesus talk to get your English conversations in with the missionaries. But we had those, we taught English. I met some really cool people there. Yeah. And then occasionally we would do like service things, like if somebody needed to move or whatever chores basically that somebody need done. The missionaries are really good for that. I grew up on a farm, so we would always have the missionaries over to do something for us because that's what they're there for. They were basically like Boy Scouts, which they kind of were Boy Scouts. That was a whole integration that the church had. That's another tangent. What was I saying? Yeah, I think I have enough. Yeah, I have enough wool for a bed. I wanted to get one of those. Yes. So my life was contact. We just go around and preach. And all was well for a time. On P days, we would go and we would see like, these different areas. We would visit members of our local ward. The membership presence in the area. We would go and see them pretty often, but all was not well, as the title of the video implies, and as I'm getting into 40 minutes into the story. So what happened was, when I was a kid, I grew up, I didn't brush my teeth or floss or use mouthwash. I did not take good care of my teeth. So growing up, I had tons of cavities. I had horrible dental history. But even worse so is that over probably years leading up to this mission, I had a bone infection in the front of my jaw under two of my teeth that had just been growing. For the longest time, I thought it was normal that I could grab those teeth and I could like move them with my finger. It was like almost like jelly, like where I can move my teeth around. I thought that was normal. Turns out it's not. And it had been like that for probably, I don't know, a year or two, maybe more, before I went on the mission. That was just like a weird quirk about my mouth that I didn't think could be anything. Turns out it was something. So while I was there, my chin started swelling, and the front of my teeth started hurting like a motherfucker. And it started itching too. It would like swell, it would hurt, it would itch, and it got pretty bad. So obviously, we found a local dentist in the center of Odessa, the city center. Lovely area. There were a lot of like cool restaurants, that kind of stuff. There was really cool architecture. There was a lot of like Greek kind of stuff, because obviously Odessa, that's like at least close to where the Greek settlement was that some fucking book takes place near. I don't know. I don't know fucking history, lore, legend, except the Mormon legend. That's all I know. So yeah, I had this bone infection that started growing, and it was really fucking uncomfortable. I had the infection. I went to the dentist, and I had root canals done. I had 2 root canals done. They did the first root canal in one of my teeth to drain this like pustule cavity. It wasn't a cavity. It was like a full-on like a pouch, a pocket of just like cyst, pus, infected, gross shit that was just inside of my chin. Sorry if this story is kind of gross. I hope you're not eating. Yeah, so they had to drill into there to hopefully drain out all the nasty fucking infection shit that was under my teeth, like under the roots of my teeth, in my gums, in my jaw. So they drilled the first one, and then that hurt like an absolute motherfucker. Fun fact about Mormon missions, you can't get put under. At least that was the rule on our mission, because obviously we were in a foreign country. We're in Ukraine. There's a lot of, I guess, kind of risk that comes with certain areas and certain things, especially for, I guess, American tourists. I don't know. But we had a rule on our mission that you weren't allowed to get put under. So I had to get 2 root canals done with local anesthesia. And when I tell you, I have a crazy low tolerance for everything. Growing up, I didn't drink caffeine. I didn't drink coffee, tea. I had soda from time to time, but that's a big Mormon thing, is you're not supposed to drink any substances. Obviously, you can't have alcohol or smoke or anything like that. So my tolerance is super low when I have any kind of recreational drug. But for whatever fucking reason, anesthesia just doesn't quite work on me, despite the fact that I have the drug tolerance of an actual fetus, a child. Like I could take a hit from like a D4 weakest, like borderline CBD cart, and I could get absolutely fucking stoned off the weakest shit imaginable. That's probably another fun story I could tell. But for whatever reason, the anesthesia didn't quite work. I couldn't get put under because that was mission policy. So I just had to sit through 2 root canal operations, getting my fucking teeth drilled in, and then they would have this like fucking hot needle thing that they would use to fill the cavity with, like, I guess, synthetic tooth shit, that hurt like a motherfucker. But yes, I had the dental bone fucking infection. I had 2 local anesthesia root canals, and I do not respond well to anesthesia. It definitely numbed most of the pain, probably, but there was still a good level of sensation. I was like squirming, and I wasn't like screaming, so it wasn't it wasn't the worst thing in the world, I guess, as far as surgery goes. But God, it fucking hurt, and it itched. That was the worst part. It fucking itched. It'd be like they're drilling, and then just pain and pain and pain. And so after those root canals were done, I was obviously a little traumatized. Definitely after experiencing that. And I got the root canals done, and I went back to my apartment complex or whatever, and for the next couple days, it was kind of spaced out. I had the first root canal done, and then they had to bring me back in for the second one. And then they had to bring me in a third time because a cyst grew on my chin, like, even after I got the root canals done. But that was due to, so I got the root canals done, traumatic experience. They gave me, to treat the pain, this shit called Nemesil, which is a anti-inflammatory drug, kind of like ibuprofen. It's a painkiller. That, fun fact, I found out after this whole story, it's just illegal in the U.S. because my psychiatrist was pretty sure it has steroids in it. Just like their ibuprofen has steroids. That's another thing about Ukraine and Eastern Europe in general. Their shit is strong over there. Strong. Their food is strong. It's incredibly hearty food. Just makes American food look like plastic. But their drugs are very strong. Because Eastern Europeans are like ox. They are what's the word? They are strong people, hardy people. That's the word. They are hardy people, and so they're pain reliever, just over the counter. Like, yeah, take this shit if you have an ache, or I guess fucking 2 root canals done in your teeth. They gave me this shit called Nemesil. And The combination of the dental trauma, the surgeries, and the illegal painkillers that probably had steroids in them, awoke something in me. I mentioned it in my last video. I think I did. I might have mentioned it in the last video, but I have bipolar disorder. And this was, bipolar disorder is something that emerges in your, like, I think in most adults, it emerges in like early adulthood. So 19, 20, 21, 22, that kind of thing is when your bipolar disorder, the symptoms, the episodes will begin happening. It wasn't a problem I had as a kid, but because I had an incredibly traumatic experience and also took illegal drugs that I think I was also allergic to, because that's why the cyst came out on my chin, even after the root canals, and I took the painkillers. It was like a powder that you mixed into a drink, and then you would drink it. It was weird. Yeah, my chin swelled like crazy. That's when it really fucking itched. So it hurt like a motherfucker, and it was itching, like under my skin. And because I'm pretty sure I was also allergic to the medication. I must have been, because I was having like a cyst grew on my chin. The combination of all those things, and also I was an undiagnosed bipolar individual. Now, a little bit of context. Bipolar disorder, it's a mental disorder. Basically, it's like episodic periods of what's called mania and depression. Basically, bipolar disorder is like you have these episodes, which is an extended period of time where you have psychosis, psychotic symptoms. And in my case, I think I also had some like almost schizo-related symptoms. It was weird. The disorders, I'm pretty sure, are pretty close. Like, the symptoms are similar when you're in a psychotic episode. But I had undiagnosed bipolar disorder, insane dental trauma, and illegal medication. I had my first manic episode. Yippee! Now, a lot of people, when they hear the word mania, they're like, oh my god, it's like a... Most people don't know what it means, and a lot of health people that think they know what it means don't actually know what it means. It's not just like, your personality gets weird, although one of the main reasons, or one of the main diagnostic features, is what other people notice in you. But it's not something where it's like, oh, you have a little bit of energy, you're a little extra today. No. So I was a Mormon missionary, and so my first manic episode, manifested as a spiritual, basically kind of like a nervous breakdown, I guess. I don't know what that term really means, but I know manic episodes, you go fucking crazy, alright? The hollows in Dark Souls, it's crackheads that start talking about how they're God, how they're Jesus, how they're gonna save the world. Crazy shit is what happens when you're manic. Manic individuals will burn their entire bank account gambling because God told them they're gonna win the lottery. Basically, that kind of shit. Very, very debilitating and horrible disability that puts you out of your sanity for weeks. That's the kind of characteristic trademark, not the trademark, but the unique characteristic of what makes bipolar disorder what it is it's a episodic mood disorder. So what that basically meant is I went fucking crazy. I started having like very, very strong spiritual fucking feelings and experiences, and ultimately that's part of why I'm no longer religious, is because being fucking crazy and thinking that you're God feels the same and validates in the same emotional confirmation as being, you know, delusional and fucking crazy. So obviously, if one of them you're an insane person, the same feeling, the same principle that you would think confirms the reality of spiritualism, they're both just kind of like it's all in your head. And in my case, it was in my head with a very strong and powerful chemical nervous reaction. I was talking to a friend. Apparently, in manic episodes, your entire nervous system flares. Every fucking nerve in your body goes insano style, max juice, max win. Like it feels, you feel superhuman. There's a thing I like to call crazy strength that I saw in my older brother, the one who passed away. When he was manic, he would do things that, like, his entire nervous system was firing, so he would do like crackhead superhuman feats, basically. That's kind of what mania can do to you, is you're so fucking amped up. It's like you're being on some crazy fucking drug that yeah, you can do crazy shit. You get very active, very restless and like chaotic, very fierce mental state where you're just kind of, the best way I can describe it, and it's kind of maybe a little degrading to bipolar individuals, but as one, I think I can say this, it feels like you're a rabid animal. You're just a wild fucking animal that is hopped up on something, and it's just tearing the woods apart. So when I had this manic episode, I was having, it first manifested as like spiritual and slightly schizoaffective like thoughts. Basically, I would see patterns in words that I saw around me, and those words I thought meant some deeper spiritual message that was speaking to me, and like crazy shit. But eventually it manifested in I started like running around my apartment because I became paranoid. That's another big thing about manic episodes. You become paranoid. Basically, whatever shadow fucking government, crazy like conspiracy, that kind of shit, it becomes real. But in a very fluid and like non-cohesive manner. You're not specifically like afraid of something, but it's more like there's an overpowering like force of evil that's after you, and you have to do all you can to like protect yourself and protect your memories and protect your thoughts. You know, tinfoil hat kind of thing. I'm sure that's tangentially related. Just doing some fucking crazy shit. I actually used tinfoil. I wrapped the SD card from my mission phone in tinfoil because I thought it was gonna protect the data on it from like fucking Google or whatever shadow corporation, fucking like absolute just schizo shit. In the most I would say endearing, but it's like descriptive way possible. You go fucking insane. It got to a point where at the peak of my episode, I was like pounding on doors around our apartment complex for no reason. I was just running because something was chasing me, and I when you're manic, you're not like thinking. You're not. It's very strange. It's almost like kind of like an out-of-body experience. Not necessarily, or not exactly, but it feels like your body is doing things and your brain is thinking things, and you're just kind of like a passenger. Your body it's all doing all this impulsive shit on its own, and you're just watching. I have very vivid memories of the faces of people who would freak the fuck out when I was manic. And I was like running around the place and banging on doors, and like it got to a point where like my trainer was on one end of a door and I was on another, and I was like fighting to fucking push the door open, and he was fighting to keep it closed, and it was like this crazy fucking like just insanity, utter insanity. And so I was having this manic episode. I should also mention, part of, completely unrelated, part of the title clickbait. At one point while I was contacting, I almost got, like, there's some guy that, like, grabbed my arm and was calling his buddies or some shit, that my trainer had to, like, break me free of his grip. I think that was the part where I almost got kidnapped. That just happened while I was out contacting one day. So that was the first time I almost disappeared in Ukraine. Was just pretty sure that guy was trying to human traffic me. Because obviously I'm like a, you know, pretty American white boy, you know? But in this manic episode, when I was running around like a rabid fucking crazy animal, another characteristic of manic episodes and the paranoia that that you can suffer, or that I suffered, is you have an acute fear of doctors, cops, anyone with like authority and some, I don't know, there's something about it that just, when you're manic, that you don't trust them. You don't fucking trust them. So the part where I almost disappeared was during this manic episode, and it's kind of odd, like, the whole experience was basically like a fucking acid trip or drug trip, where I was in my apartment in Ukraine doing all this crazy shit, and then I just didn't sleep. That's the biggest thing about mania and like bipolar disorder. Sleep is like the #1 thing that when you lose it, you're gonna start having symptoms if you don't get good sleep. So I have to sleep like an old man. I go to bed at fucking 9:30 every night, like an ancient old fella, an old man. Because if I don't get my sleep, I turn into a fucking like animal, a literal crazy fucking animal. But yes, so yeah, it was weird because basically you don't sleep, you're doing all this active shit. There's tons of like I was scrawling all this delusional, spiritual, just fucking nonsense that if you showed any Mormon, they would see it as sacrilege. I was scrawling all these prophecies and these scriptures and these visions and these just all these thoughts that I had that were completely fucking delusional. I think I still have like some of the books that I wrote in. You write all kinds of fucking crazy ass shit. I think that's something that's common in schizoaffective, schizo-related schizophrenia, those kinds of disorders, where like you start breaking down words into syllables and like it gets fucking crazy. But during that episode, and this is the part where I almost disappeared, a big part of it was paranoia also results in like distrust of the people around you. So in my case, I was going with a doctor was called for obvious reasons to come and get me. I think it might have been there were like elderly missionaries that were also on our mission. They were called to come pick us up. So at the peak of my episode, when I was running around my apartment complex, pounding on walls, pounding on doors, I also tried to climb onto the roof, but thank God the roof was locked. It was a very tall apartment building, and we were on an upper floor. So I was running up and down the stairs, all this crazy shit. And eventually, I guess I kind of tired myself out. And I went to my fucking bed, and I had the most insane fucking spiritual experience in a prayer that I had, where to my mind, the world had ended. And we were in the fucking, there's a Mormon thing where they talk about the there's a special word for it, but it's basically the second coming of Jesus Christ. Like, that is how high of a spiritual impact that being manic has on you, where I genuinely thought, like, the world had ended and we were in the post-world, like, dimension. Like, when you see lolcows like Christian and, like, all those fucking crazy people, the shit that they spout, that is the kind of shit that you get when you're manic. And so I had the insane fucking prayer, all that shit. But eventually, the elderly people came to take me to a doctor, who was like some medical person they had on staff for the mission. And when I was getting taken there, for whatever reason, I suddenly became incredibly, like, scared of the elderly people, or the people I was with. I think the doctor was with us at the time. I had gone to the apartment where the doctor was, and they were in the process of literally getting a plane straight out of Ukraine, get me on the next flight back to the US, because I needed treatment. And for anyone that is familiar with Ukraine or lives in Ukraine, it is very difficult to get out of the country when you are already there. People that grow up there will spend their entire lives trying to move to other countries, because it's at least when I was there, and from what I heard from the people that I met and I lived around, it's very difficult to get out of the country. But because, oh hey, I got an achievement. Because I was a missionary, I had access to that super mega church, like my fucking mission president. I heard rumors that he was like a billionaire or some shit. Very, very elite people. They were able to get me an immediate flight back to the US. But while I was there and before I got to the flight, they were like taking me to the elderly missionary's apartment. I guess it's like a second way house to get me on the plane. I was with the doctor, and I was incredibly distrustful of the doctor. I kept like arguing with him and trying to like telling him that I needed to speak to the prophet. I needed to speak to the first presidency. I wouldn't tell anyone the things I knew until I spoke with them. Like that level of delusion, where you're just completely out of your fucking mind. And because I distrusted him, as we were trying to get to, I think it was the elderly apartment, as like the second way checkpoint that we would then get to the airport to fly me home, I ran away from him. I just took off because I was fucking crazy, and I was with this guy that I didn't trust, and like I didn't know. I like, he was a doctor, so he was trying to tell me things that didn't fit in with my delusions. So like there's a level of distrust that comes with paranoia, any kind of psychotic symptom like that, where like the doctors are out to get you and like this and this and that. And so I ran away from the guy. And thank God, thank Almighty Joe Smith, thank the Lord Jesus, that I tried running into a nightclub. That was like the first thing on the street that we were next to. It was like probably 3 in the morning or some shit at that point. Because we had tried to get sleep, but when you're manic, you don't sleep. Like I would just lay in bed and I would sit there and I would think. Everything's going in my head. Everything's like, it's like fucking brain maelstrom spaghetti of all this shit that just keeps you awake. And the doctor had even got me to take like a prescription that would hope I imagine probably sedated me enough to be lucid enough to not crash out on the plane on my way home. That's probably a big part of why I was able to get home safely, is because I apparently trusted that guy enough to take his pills. That's not something I'm sure all manic individuals will do. Yeah, so I ran away from the guy, and thank God there's a bouncer at that nightclub that I tried running into, because he just stood in the way. I'm not like a big guy. I'm on the shorter end of the tall side, is how I like to put it. But I'm also very skinny. And so this like fucking massive Ukrainian, just big ass fucking bouncer just I think he just stood in front of the door, and I was like trying to get past him, like, let me in, let me in, let me in, let me in. And he didn't let me in. And then, thank God, for whatever reason, no, that's right. I was running from the doctor, and then the old people came. They were like old elderly missionaries. They call them the elder missionary. No, not the elders. Like there's a word for them. The old people. I trusted them. I don't know why. Maybe because they're a familiar face. They're also like just kind of people. They weren't trying to get me to do anything or do anything like that. They were just like, hey, come on, buddy. And I, for whatever reason, I trusted them and I followed them, and they were able to wrangle me on the plane, and I made it home. I had a pretty crazy experience. When I got home, I was still manic. I saw my first psychiatrist. They were able to get me home safe, back to the U.S. After the fucking crazy shit. I still remember seeing my trainer in like one of those fucking, like the emergency blankets that they put on like medical trauma victims or whatever to like deal with shock. I remember seeing my trainer in that, because he was very rightfully freaked the fuck out that I had gone ape shit for seemingly no reason. This was also right after I had told our mission president that God had told me I needed to go home to preach to my friends. I guess that was part of why I wanted to get home. So I got like half discharged spiritually and half discharged medically. Technically, I just there was a literal moment where they were like, all right, do you forsake the mission, and do you give up on God's calling and turn against him? And there was some shit like that, but my fucking manic brain was like, no, God told me to go home. So I kind of got the cop-out answer of like, no, I don't have to go apostate to leave my mission. I'm fucking crazy. But I made it home safely, thank fucking God. Because I did almost disappear in that nightclub, and I was running away from people and like pounding on doors and shit. I'm surprised I didn't get fucking beat up or some shit. Like imagine there's some crackhead running around your apartment complex, and I don't know, you're a big fucking Ukrainian. You just like shut the fuck up or something. I don't know. Or maybe I could have done some crazy shit to make some guy mad, and he beats the fuck out of me. I don't know. I don't know. It was insane. But thankfully, I made it home to the States, back to my hometown, and I saw my first psychiatrist. I literally went in the appointment, and he had like just a conversation with him where I told him like literally 2% of the crazy shit that was going on in my head, and he was like, yeah, you're manic right now. So what we're going to do is we're going to like give you these antipsychotics. We're going to give you this like a strong dose of this shit that's going to make you normal again. And I still take that shit to this day, even though it's like fucking 5 years later or some shit. I'm still on it, because if I don't take it, I'm going to turn into that fucking creature again. That's one of my deepest fears, is the fact that it happened again. That's another, like, that ties into why I got fired from my night shift job that I mentioned in the last video. This is the progenitor, the genesis, get it? Funny church pun, of that disorder. Made it home safe. Eventually, I had some misadventures at home. I was like, did a bunch of like weird shit. Like I like drank shampoo mixed with fish food for whatever reason. I have on my hard drive this ties in. This is how I got started on YouTube. Fun fact. fun fucking crazy fact. This insane episode where I was a literal insane person, animal, freaking monster, crazy shit. I started streaming. So I have on my hard drive a recording of my very first live stream where I am just fucking high off my mind. There's like some like one of the schizo Russian Ukrainian words I invented is just like on the top of the screen, talking about how like this is like I tried starting like another thing about Mania is you get a bunch of like grand plans. So like I was like, oh, I'm gonna fucking buy a taco truck and start a band, and because obviously, you know, I'm destined to be this famous musician that like so I started streaming to promote my non-existent fucking crazy person, insane ass pipe dream band that had a fucking crazy, the name was literally one of the words that I saw in the patterns of that manic episode. I guess in Russian it was just Arcadia, or Arcadia in English. I think it was just the name of the park. I think it was the name of the park I passed during that fucking episode. But yeah, my very first live stream was trying to promote some fucking batshit insane shit. I was high off my mind, wearing a fucking I had like a plastic stormtrooper helmet that I spray painted black, and like I built a headset into the stormtrooper, like my Razer Kraken headset. I like wired and cut so that it was built into the stormtrooper helmet, and that was like part of my like creator identity for those days. Was just this like jerry-rigged fucking crackhead device that I manufactured to be the helmet, the guy with the headset in it, and yeah, so I have that on my hard drive. I also have another video I took. The very first video on this channel is a privated video of me recording hot dogs on a frying pan. It's literally just a video of me like very creepily poking at these hot dogs that are on a frying pan, because I thought, oh, the way these hot dogs are turning on their own in the frying pan, like that's gonna go mega viral, and like that'll make this fucking thing happen, and all this and all that. And I guess that was when I got infected with the content creation brain rot, was because I was literally clinically insane and thought that it was not that it was meant to be, not that it was destined to be, but that it was happening at that very moment. Like during the peak of my manic episode, when I was trying to get on the roof, I thought on top of the roof was the band Imagine Dragons playing a concert that I was about to get on stage for. Like that is how fucking insane. And the Prophet was there too. For whatever reason in my manic brain, that is what was happening on top of the rooftop of my apartment complex in Ukraine. And I tried to get on the rooftop, and then that delusion, the weird thing is the delusions, they don't stick. They kind of just like fluidify and morph throughout the episode. So I had a lot of that still morphing and brewing in my head when I came home from my mission. Completely high off my mind, medically discharged, spiritually discharged. I actually didn't leave the church for another like year, because the crazy thing about Mormonism, and I guess probably religion in general, is that you find a way to make anything make sense. So in my head for the longest time, I thought like, oh, you know, maybe there was some spiritual validation to the things I was thinking at the time, and you know, like, the Lord brought me home from my mission because I made it home, and like, yeah. Despite all that, I still remained religious for another year. But after I came home, after all that, I eventually sobered up. After like a month or two, maybe 3 months being on antipsychotics, I eventually came back down from the high. And then I got depressed. That's a fun fact. After manic episodes, you typically have a period of equally opposite depression right after. Thankfully, my depression hasn't been that bad. I have a mild case of major depressive disorder, so it's like, it's depression, but it's not that bad. Yeah, so I did a lot of weird shit in the months after that. I photocopied all the pages from my childhood journals, and then I typed from those pages into like a Word document, and that was how I got it started journaling, which is another crazy fucking shit about my life. For years after that episode, I obsessively journaled to the point where I would just type everything that popped in my head throughout the day and all that, and eventually that journal hit 1 million words. I typed 1 million fucking words over the years after in the journal that I started because I was batshit insane. And then I also watched Cowboy Bebop. After my first manic episode. What was the title of this fucking video? Oh, How I Almost Died. Yeah. So, yep, that was the time I almost disappeared. I almost disappeared into a nightclub. There was that offhanded comment where I almost got human trafficked. At least I think that's what it was. Some guy like grabbed my wrist and was trying to take me somewhere, and like was calling on his phone like, my buddies are gonna come get us. We're gonna come get you. We need to wait for my buddies. It was just a random stranger too. That's why I'm pretty sure it was like some fucking traffic shit. Like, who just grabs someone on the street and says, alright, you're coming with me, pal. Like, yeah, no. That was probably some really dark shit that almost happened there. Thankfully, that didn't happen while I was manic, because God only knows what would have happened then. Although I would not be surprised if I would have broken out of that guy's grip just from how fucking crazy I was. But yeah, that's the story. I came home from my mission. I eventually sobered up. I developed some weird fucking habits, and I eventually, because of that episode, I got interested in content creation. And I wound it up doing mostly streaming in the years after that. I didn't start YouTube until like 2021-ish, 2020. It might have been 2022, actually. I think it was 2022 that I started actually making YouTube videos after I had gone through a few years trying to stream. But it all started there. It all started from that absolutely batshit insane part of my life where I suffered medical trauma and spiritual trauma, emotional trauma, very intense. But you know what? I made it through. At the end of the day, I'm here. I'm sane. That episode got me on the medication that has kept me, that's another thing about bipolar disorder, and I guess a lot of mood disorders in general. A lot of people talk about like, oh my god, SSRIs are making people crazy. Like, people demonize medication, because, oh, this crazy person takes this medication, and you're depressed because you're, like, the truth is, I would probably be either homeless, in prison, or dead right now if I didn't have my antipsychotics, my medication. I'm on antidepressants too. There have been some pretty dark times in the past 4 years or whatever, that because I have those medications, I can live like a normal human being. And so that's the silver lining at the end of the story, is that for most, if you deal with these mental illnesses like schizophrenia, bipolar disorder, I don't know about like BPD or any other. I mostly know about bipolar disorder, but if you can find a prescription plan and a treatment plan that works for you, you can be normal. Like, 99.9% of the time, I'm just a normal fucking guy. But because of my brain chemistry, the 2 times in my lifetime, including that first episode, that I've missed a single dose of my medication, I get sent absolutely fucking haywire, and it destroys my life. Yeah, that ties into how I got fired from my job. That was the second manic episode that I had. I could tell that story, but this video is already probably going to be like an hour fucking long. I've been talking for an hour and a half. and I need to go to bed. But there you have it. That's the story. Things that I learned. I have a lot of empathy for people that deal with this kind of shit now. Every time I see, like I know FouseyTube, that guy had a manic episode on video. There's a bunch of content creators who have had psychotic episodes on stream. That's like my life's biggest fear, is that I'm gonna have a manic episode. I'd probably end up homeless if I lost my current job, because I don't have anywhere else to go. But if for whatever reason I was a content creator and my life depended on life depended on like my videos and stuff, having a manic episode would be absolutely horrendous. It would be a public flogging, a public tomato throwing. I'm sure most people would be like, oh, there's obviously something really wrong with this guy, and it's actually not that big of a deal. But God only knows. I mean, that's probably how lol cows are made. is people going through intense mental illness, and then people on the internet see that as funny, and then they fuck with them. So I really hope I don't end up as a homeless, completely batshit insane man that goons in public and writes an operating system. I'm not smart enough to write an operating system. Writes a poem book or some shit. I don't know. Yeah, that's my biggest fear. It's just going completely insane and living the rest of my probably very short life as an animal crazier than this Minecraft chicken. This Minecraft chicken doesn't have thoughts, but at least it's not like attacking things and running around like its head is chopped off. That's kind of what Mania is like. So there you have it. Things I learned. I have a lot of empathy for people with mental illness now. Every time I see people struggling, I fucking feel for them, and I feel really bad, and I hope that they find the treatment that I have. I've responded really well to treatment. Like, I've only had 2 episodes in the span of 4 years, which for most bipolar people, like I have an anxiety disorder as well, so I get incredibly anxious from my traumas. Like, I brush my teeth religiously. I take my meds religiously because I live in fear. Constant fear of the absolute fucking animal that I can become. And that's not in like the edgy, emo way. That's like the, hey, this person needs to be locked up in a fucking cell, a padded cell for the rest of their life. Yeah. Yeah. Things I learned. I have a lot of empathy for people who struggle with this kind of thing. I eventually learned that spiritualism doesn't really mesh well with mental illness. It's not a good mix. Especially if you have psychosis. Bad mix. So I learned that. I learned that God isn't real. Because God is in my head and he's telling me to do things. Not auditorily, but like through the emotional confirmation that the Mormonism teaches you is all that is good is from God. All the good feelings you feel and feelings of validation, those are ordained and blessed and given to you by God to do things. That kind of shit. That when you're crazy, it hits different. It's like sex on meth, bro. It just hits different. Not that I would know. I've never had meth, nor have I had sex. I was Mormon. I was Mormon, all right? I was Mormon. I wasn't allowed to have either. Yeah. So I hope this story was maybe kind of entertaining and not just like a trauma dump. I guess I could use this opportunity to tell people, be nice and be empathetic to people. You don't know what shit is going through their head and what they're dealing with. Mental health is the invisible killer. Mental illness is psionic damage that will rot and degrade and destroy your brain, and nobody will know it's even happening to you. If you're going through it, I highly encourage you seek professional help. Maybe leave your story in the comments. Tell me about your crazy fucking experience on ayahuasca. Yeah. So, yeah. I hope if you're out there and you're struggling, you get the help you need. Maybe if you hear this story, it's a snap back to reality, and you think, this sounds familiar. I need to go talk. I need to go call a doctor. I hope that helps. I guess my biggest takeaways, if you're Mormon, don't go on a fucking mission. It's a waste of your fucking time. And it puts you in a lot of dangerous risks, especially if you're going to a foreign country. Like I did, where, hey, Ukrainian dentist gives you illegal painkillers and it sends you fucking apeshit. That's not a very good, not a good thing for a church to send their missionaries on and make them pay to go there. I guess that can happen in different things or whatever, but especially taking impressionable 19-year-olds and sending them to, what is now a literal war-torn country, maybe not the best. Maybe not the best. Maybe just go to college. Maybe go to college, maybe go to a trade school, or go to an international school where you study Russian with, students in an educational environment that doesn't involve telling people about your dead brother. I'm trying to find like a positive note to leave this on. Words of life and encouragement. You know what? Here's another thing. That whole story sounds kind of scary. Maybe a bit of a trauma dump. Maybe I shouldn't post this on YouTube. But I think another part of having mental illness and having these disorders that people make you out to be some kind of broken person that doesn't belong in society. I would just say you're valid if you're out there. If you have, fucking schizophrenia, if you have schizoaffective disorder, if you have borderline personality disorder, you got bipolar disorder, you got all kinds of disorders, generalized anxiety disorder, major depressive disorder, all the kit and caboodle that people say is just fucking made up. Take care of yourself. And you're not less of a person because you have that thing. It's the same as just missing an arm. Or, not the same, obviously. My life's not as difficult as an amputee. But people are not perfect. We are not made in God's image. We're not perfect. Everybody is different. And people that are different from you, or if you're different yourself and you just feel like you feel like an outsider. We're all the same. We're all the fucking same. Made of the same flesh and blood. Mortal on this earth. And you're not less of a person if you deal with shit like this. If you're depressed, if you're suicidal, it's not okay, but it can be alright if you find the right help, and it's not a shame to find that help. It's not a shame to tell a therapist that you're depressed, or that God is telling you to drink shampoo. That's not a shame. Just tell them. If you're paranoid and you think they're after you, just tell them how you feel, and they'll stick a needle in you, and in a week or two or a month or two, you'll be back to normal. Okay, that's kind of a good message, right? Yeah. We're all born different. We all have different problems. We struggle with different things. But at the end of the day, we're all people. Be good people. Take care of each other. You're not less of a person if you have a disability. And if you feel so inclined, I would love to read. If you do struggle with things like this, put your story in the comments. I would like to read it and respond to it and see the kinds of things, the stories people have, the stories people tell. I have a lot more that I could tell. There's a lot about, like my brother's death and that kind of shit. Maybe that's a little too heavy for YouTube. I don't know. A lot of life things that I've learned, such as take your medicine, or you're gonna end up in prison or homeless or dead. No. Stay safe out there. Stay safe out there. If you're dealing with shit, you can get through it. I got through it. I got very, very lucky that I found people around me that were able to take care of me, even though I barely knew who they were. But for whatever reason, my crazy fucking brain trusted them. Find those people that you trust, and pray that they will bring you to a doctor, because if they don't, you're just gonna run around and find help, seek help if you're going through shit. I don't mean this in an offensive way. It's just like all of these things that you struggle with, you deal with, they can be fixed. Not fixed, sorry, that's a bad word. Like, I'm gonna live with bipolar disorder the rest of my fucking life. It's just a genetic thing. There's nothing I could do about that. But I can find treatment that, lo and behold, keeps me normal and keeps me like a functioning member of society that goes to barbecues. I don't actually go to barbecues, but if I would go to a barbecue, I could just eat a hot dog and talk with grandpappy like nothing ever happened. Like I'm a normal ass person, and most people won't even know that about me. I don't tell people because there's a lot of misconceptions about these kinds of things, especially bipolar disorder. I can't tell you how many times I've heard people just be like, oh, well, be glad that guy's not bipolar. Those people are crazy. It's like, yeah, man. I'm sure you know all about that. What the fuck was I even saying? I'm just rambling at this point. I need to go to bed. Yeah, stay safe. Take care of yourself, guys. I hope this story is educational. Maybe if you didn't know about bipolar disorder, now you know the kinds of things that happen to bipolar people. My brother, who is now passed, he was a drug addict, which you thought steroids and painkillers was bad? Try fucking coke and whatever fucking drugs he was addicted to. Yeah, his life was very chaotic. He had episode after episode after episode after episode. Fucking got locked up in the Marine Corps fucking crazy rehab insane asylum where he stared at a concrete wall, like crazy shit. Yeah. He didn't end up finding good treatment. I did. So I hope if you're out there, you can find good treatment. Seek treatment if you're struggling with these kinds of things. Don't take my word for it. Don't take this story as like, oh, if I just, I don't know, do what this guy does, I'll do better. No, find a professional help. But I hope this is something that some of you can maybe relate to or feel better about. That the things that most people write off as broken, less of people, like bad people that you shouldn't be around, people you should avoid. That was another thing I dealt with, was people. I had one of my closest friends just fucking cut me off in the months after that episode because he didn't want to deal with a crazy person, which on one hand, like, no, not on one hand. It's just kind of fucked up to do that to one of your best friends. Yeah, don't be that guy. And if you do deal with somebody like that who doesn't understand and just doesn't want to fucking deal with it, find better people. I don't know. I'm rambling at this point. I don't know how the fuck I'm gonna cut this down to like anything watchable, because this is a legendary tangent, long ass story. I did get iron and stone tools though, and a bed, so I made progress in the world, at least slightly. I'm gonna kill this pig. No pork chops. I don't know why I even need this meat. I'm in peaceful mode. Anyway, take care, guys. Stay safe, and I hope you find health and peace and prosperity. You can find that anywhere, by the way. My life isn't perfect. My job is kind of shitty, but you know what? I'm at peace. Because I'm not dealing with that shit. Life could be a hell of a lot worse right now. So, yeah. Be grateful. If you do find good treatment, and try and help people find good treatment if you're doing going with that. Another thing I could say. I've had friends who also deal with similar mental illness and mental problems. Also including my brother, who I've mentioned a couple times now, and probably makes the video a little dark every time I talk about him. But one thing you can do, even if you watch this whole video, even if you're maybe scared by the story I just told, or whatever, I don't know, if you just don't understand, if you don't, and this goes for if you just meet someone who's out of their fucking mind, or maybe they're not, maybe they're just not talking, maybe they're whatever odd thing is going on with someone, the best thing you can do, and the old people did this for me when I was going batshit insane. The best thing you can do is just treat people like people. Oftentimes, being all authoritative like a cop and like a doctor can actually scare the hell out of people and make them very uncomfortable, and can make things worse. Not every time, obviously, but if you are out there and you meet someone who is going through something like this, literally just fucking, as long as they're not in like obvious danger, just treat them like people, one of the best ways that I get through shit is just by sitting down and booting up a game with friends. Literally, when you're doing things like that, and this is something my psychiatrist has told me over and over, and I will preach it like I preach the word of God. Routine is what people need. Or, I guess in general, if you're dealing with mental illness, a level of routine and just feeling like your life isn't falling apart. So whatever way you can do that for someone else, if it's just like, hey man, you want to hop on a Minecraft server and just boot up some Minecraft, go find some diamonds, like just spend some time being human and being normal, and like even if they're fucking batshit insane, and even if they're telling you all this crazy shit, I showed some of the old missionaries some of the shit I wrote, and the dude just looked at me like definitely sacrilegious shit. But even if they're spouting the most insane shit, if there's just a crackhead and he's telling you all this crazy shit, just treat him with respect and kindness, compassion, Sit down and play Minecraft with the crackhead. That's what I'm saying. Take out your Xbox 360, plug it into a CRT nearby, and play some Minecraft with the crackhead. And you know what? That crackhead might remember that interaction. Or maybe he won't. But if it's a friend and they're like depressed, or they're going through a manic episode, or any kind of mental struggle, mental health problem, maybe they just need fucking therapy, they need someone to talk to, just be there for people. Because ultimately it's when people are there for you that you can be safe. That's the biggest thing that has kept me alive all these years when I'm mentally ill, is just having people to be around that are safe. That you can just be normal. You can be yourself. You can just be a human. Be normal. That's the word of the day. Be normal. Not in a bad way, like, hey, you're wrong and you need to change. Or you're broken and you can't be fixed and you can't be normal. But like normalcy and just the day in, day out, that what I was saying about my psychiatrist, like the routine, getting up, brushing your teeth, go to work, come home, eat dinner, play some games, go to sleep on time, take your prescriptions. Like literally the fix, the cure for mental health is to live like an old person. Be responsible. But part of responsibility and part of that routine is just being chilling out, you know, playing some Minecraft with the boys when you're lonely or when you're insane. Obviously that can't fix everything. Seek professional help, but that's kind of like the survival kit. If you had to go into the woods with a manic individual, bring a game of Yahtzee or some fucking something to keep him entertained. Play Minecraft with him while he streams on D Live, because even though he's saying crazy shit and he's writing crazy shit, he can still play Minecraft, and that will bide time while the medications kick in, and he can feel better. Or if you don't need prescription treatment, you just need to go to therapy or some shit. Yeah, going through that while also just maintaining a seemingly normal life, doing the best you can to just stay calm and relax, even when your body is screaming and every nerve in your body is firing off like a chemical emotional nuke that burns every reactor and fries every nerve in your nervous system. Crazy people can still play Minecraft, so maybe play Minecraft if you think someone's crazy, or if they're dealing with some shit, just treat them. Be a friend. Be there for people. Do things that you would normally do with the normal person. It doesn't have to be like, you know, you don't have to have therapy and talk to them about shit. Although that does help, I've found, in most situations. When I've talked to my brother, when I've talked to friends that have been through some very dark shit, having someone to talk to and just sit and play fucking Minecraft, play something, do something normal that the person can just feel like their world isn't falling apart, and that can help them a lot. I can testify for that. I've had friends who could testify for that. So if you take nothing away from this video, it's just be respectful to people, and if you just be there for people, even if they're going through really, really heavy shit. And oftentimes when they're going through really, really heavy shit, that's when they need it the most. So there you go. That's the moral of the video. Take care. I gotta go to sleep. I don't know how the fuck I'm gonna edit this video. It's gonna be like 2 hours long. But you know what? I hope you enjoyed. Yeah, tell your stories if you have any in the comments. I definitely want to read them. We're all in this together. Take care. Have a good one, guys.